Bring in show music, please.
This is Squawk Pod, and I'm CNBC producer Cameron Costa. On today's episode, it's week 3 of the government shutdown in Washington. House Speaker Mike Johnson joins us with an update.
No one's talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare, but we have to increase access to care, quality of care, and bring down the cost.
And a response from the other side of the aisle, Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly.
We are trying to prevent 2 million people from losing their health care coverage. When people lose their health care coverage, some of those people die. Other people go bankrupt.
Then, the business of Bombas CEO Jason LaRose is capitalizing on socks and comfort.
We're one of those brands that even when the macro might be, a little bit sketchy, we continue to do well.
Everybody needs socks. Those big conversations, plus CNBC's Steve Kovach on the latest battle for AI talent in big tech.
Everyone has a price, right? At some point, if someone comes at you with an enormous amount of money,
you're going to say,
if someone,
true. I'm for sale for $1 billion.
So, who is it?
It's Thursday, October 16th.
Get a fire extinguisher out. Going to do it. We'll spray from over here.
And a fiery Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue her, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. It's Thursday.
You're right.
Best day of the week.
Oh, you didn't have to ask.
I didn't.
Yesterday you were a little.
Yesterday I was a little confused. It's been a week.
A little bit sketchy yesterday.
It's been a week.
I bet you are feeling it even more. Did you know it was Thursday?
I'm aware it was Thursday. I got some deep sleep last night, according to the
I was going to ask you, or reading.
Catch up. Yeah. It wasn't that I had longer sleep. It was that the sleep was, quote, consolidated into deep sleep because I was so tired.
Because you're exhausted, probably, from hawking this book. That's what you do, though. You write a book, you go wild for a couple of weeks.
It's like a movie opening. You want people to go see it.
And it's interesting because everybody likes money, but you don't need the money. It's about trying to get to the number one spot, right? That's what you'd like. I think that's what you want to sell as many books as you can. The publisher wants to.
Yes.
It's good, and I've seen people.
If you take 10 years to write something, you want people to read it.
Well, that's true. But gazillionaires write books, and they will go anywhere, anytime to try and get one copy sold. It's very weird.
You go to the opening of an envelope.
Yeah, you go to the opening of an envelope. So did you? Nothing last night for you?
No, he did.
Keep you out
I was moving around. I was on Anderson Cooper's show.
What time did you go to bed?
I was on Jen Psaki's show on MSNBC. I did Scott Jennings' radio show yesterday afternoon.
No kidding. Scott Jennings has a radio show already.
Yes, he does.
That's amazing.
And he was great, by the way. He was awesome. Awesome. You would have loved it.
Well, of course I love that.
I know.
You think I don't love that guy?
No, I know you would.
You know me.
I do know you.
ChatGPT might not understand that, but yeah, they know nothing. They want me. Joe, where's your closest? Here are the possible places to go to the No Kings rally. How about a Trump rally? No, we don't do politics. I mean, never again. I'm done with that. It's infested. How did that happen? It's infested current large language.
I don't know what you've done.
Okay, let's go.
Meantime, President Trump saying that the U.S. and China are currently in a trade war. The president making that comment after the markets closed yesterday. But earlier in the day, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Rep Jamieson Greer stressed that Washington doesn't want to escalate a conflict with China. Greer telling reporters that China has not yet gone ahead with an updated regulatory system for rare earth minerals and said he expects the country won't pull that trigger. Bessent suggested another temporary trade truce with Beijing is possible, like the current 90-day agreement, which is scheduled to expire on November 10th.
Federal judge temporarily blocking the Trump administration from firing federal workers during the government shutdown. The order came 5 days after the White House issued a reduction in force notice to more than 4,000 government employees. The judge who, I'm back to perplexity. Do I trust it? I don't know. Judge Ilston, San Francisco, district judge, but federal, able to do this. Yeah. And Bill Clinton appointee.
He was a Bill Clinton appointee.
Bill Clinton appointee.
This is the way the system's supposed to work.
So appointed by a Republican. The judge citing comments by President Trump and White House Budget Director Russ Vought that have indicated workers are being laid off explicitly to target programs favored by Democrats, God forbid. Shortly before the judge's ruling, Vogt said in an interview he expects more than 10,000 federal jobs would be cut because of that shutdown.
But this is the way the Constitution set it up. There
and it goes, and every other time it's gone to the Supreme Court, and they say Trump is allowed to do it.
But
so
we'll
fine.
see. Let
this
it play
takes
out.
time.
Let it play out. This is the way that
it is and it
checks
isn't.
and balances.
It isn't. It is and it isn't.
Look, the executive branch, not just under President
I understand
Trump,
how
but
everything
before
works,
this,
but
has really stepped up the amount of power that they take, the number of executive orders that have gone over the last 3 or 4 presidencies.
Right.
I mean, you're looking at.
There should be checks and balances.
What some people would call overreach,
there
but
should
we'll
be
see.
checks
There should be
and
checks and
balances.
balances. So let the process play out.
But by the end, it's usually.
We'll see. Let the process play out.
We'll see. Don't
Trust the
worry.
process.
I'm going to get a fire extinguisher out for your hair. I'm going to do it. I'm going to spray from over here if you start.
What's going
Andrew's
on
got
with
a water
Salesforce?
bottle.
What's going on with Salesforce? He's got a water bottle.
Look out.
Extinguish it.
Crossfire. Salesforce shares are higher this morning. The company issued new long-term guidance of more than $60 billion in revenue in 2030. That topped analyst estimates of $58.4 billion. At the company's annual conference, the CFO says that they have had lower stage growth for a while, but that is reaccelerating at this point. She said she expects year-over-year organic revenue growth above 10% in each of the next 4 years.
In a mixed quarter for United Airlines, earnings beat, but revenue fell short. It also forecasts, though, higher expected profit for the final 3 months of the year. CEO Scott Kirby says United's retention of brand-loyal customers has kept it strong, even amid macroeconomic volatility. It's been one of the better performers, as you can see, even though it's down today. It's one of the few that have maybe been, I'm not going to say it, but one of the best performers in that group.
Much more profitable.
Kind of different than Delta. Delta seemed more excited about things, and even though they said that they expect higher profits.
Yeah.
Delta said it was, once again, it's, the higher end customer was keeping
things afloat. And I think one of the big strengths for United was its loyalty program. I think it was up by 9% or something, driven by the loyalty program sales itself.
Have you flown? Remember when Scott was on, he said how much better Newark was.
I haven't been in
we were
Newark
like, what are you talking? Because we had been on in August.
We both had a
September.
bad weekend.
But I did get back, and I even had golf clubs. I got back, and by the time
right, you just flew last week.
Down from when I got in to the baggage claim, the golf clubs and the luggage was there at Newark. At Newark. Usually it's
what is happening?
Usually it's about the same time. If it's a short flight, you might spend more time waiting for your bags than.
Did you go into A or C?
I was in AOC.
A or
C. A or C.
Terminal A or C.
No, I hear that and I like
fire this morning. If I get the water out.
No, I hear AOC and I just it sets me off. Mom Donnie did an interview yesterday with someone
on Fox.
Yes. He's like scary. Got he's as he talks, it's like, wow, he almost seems reasonable, and he's just not. All about affordability. All about affordability. All about affordability. Is it inevitable? I see Cuomo's commercials. I'm like pulling for him. I watch him. He does know how to govern, I think, right? Sort of. Got some experience rather than zero.
One. That's for sure.
You would prefer Cuomo, or you can't even say that. You're like they like the Democrats we have on. They can't say they don't like Mamdani.
No. I'm deeply concerned that some of the language that he uses, or these days or the language he doesn't use.
He's telling I'm not sure.
I just have questions.
He doesn't even.
I want to talk to him. I think he should come on this show and discuss what he thinks about business in New York to New Yorkers and to the American public.
But if you tell him that free stuff doesn't.
Well, no,
work.
And that's why
he's going to have a way of getting it around. He's going to get it away. Yesterday, you couldn't pin him down on anything. I watched him. He's like, even on Hamas, you couldn't pin him down. He's like, well, I wouldn't deign to tell them what to do with their weapons.
That's why I think there's an important conversation to be had about rent stabilization. How do you actually create more supply of apartments in New York
By doing
City?
the opposite of what he is talking about.
Well, and I want to understand how he thinks you get there, and what do you have to do those things, and what about policing?
So you're ready to try? You
think
we just haven't done socialism right yet? One more try, and maybe it'll work this time.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Well, then why
I
even
want to talk to, I want to ask him about how he thinks he's going to.
So he can make the case for it? There is no case for
I
it.
think Andrew's making the case for him to come on the show.
I'm making the case for him to come on the show so we can discuss all of this out in the open. And maybe, and by the way, maybe he has ideas that we don't know about or have heard about. And I'd like to have that conversation. Why not?
Nice. That's nice. We can have him on.
Okay.
I don't think I'm
invitation's coming from me.
it.
Zoran, the invitation's
yeah.
coming from me and Becky.
You can take him up the second floor, like
Okay.
Paul Tudor Jones.
New development in the AI talent wars. Steve Kovach is at the table this morning, and he's got the story for us. It never ends, my friend.
Yeah, tell me if you've heard this one before, Andrew, because an AI executive was poached by Meta from Apple. This is from a Bloomberg report. We hear about this all the time. This time it's Qi Yang. He was recently promoted to run artificial intelligence search at Apple, and now he's already out. And this is just the latest in a string of these top AI talent leaving Apple for Meta and elsewhere. Now, of course, Meta isn't just poaching from Apple. There are so many other companies they've been grabbing from, but taking away these key roles at Apple carries extra weight because that company has been lagging behind artificial intelligence from the rest of its peers. And it's under enormous pressure to deliver a breakthrough AI experience on the iPhone next year after delaying its AI update to Siri this spring. Search was going to be a key part of that, and now it's without a leader. And overall, this big AI update to Siri, it's a huge project within Apple. After 14 years, Siri is still pretty bad at getting you that right answer to your questions. And compare that to what you get with AI search features in apps like ChatGPT or the Google AI experience, and of course Perplexity. And you can see why Apple needs to get this right or risk falling even further behind. Now, no update from Apple on the latest for this. They declined to comment on this most recent departure. And the last we heard, they are still planning to release this AI update next year. And they're going to be leaning on their advantage because, look, they provide access to over 1 billion users on the iPhone alone, not to mention Macs and other products. And they basically have the green light to go ahead and do this following Google's antitrust case. They can partner with Google or someone else to make AI actually work instead of building it themselves. And they cannot miss this time,
Maybe
guys.
they can partner with Meta.
I think Tim Cook would rather quit than partner with Meta, to be honest.
Wasn't that person only in the job like a number of weeks?
Yeah, he was recently promoted to
not
this
just
role.
recently, but it was like weeks.
A couple weeks ago, yeah. So this just shows Meta. We don't know what he paid. I mean, recently there's that report that they paid $1.5 billion for that guy from Thinking Machines. So they're offering enormous sums, and Apple isn't clearly not counter-offering, and they must think they have the staff they need to keep doing it. But this is not the last one. I literally lost count of how many people have left from the AI team.
I mean, on the one hand, I don't know that you want a staff full of people who are
poachable.
Yeah, poachable, or just looking for the best offer. What's the
Yeah, but everyone has a price, right? At some point, if someone comes at you with an enormous amount of money, you're going to say,
that's true. I'm for sale for $1 billion.
So, who is it? I mean, there are very few people.
We're not talking about what you are, just how much it costs.
How much you cost.
We know what you are.
And but it also tells you like but it also tells you the attitude.
You're not for sale for $1 billion.
Yeah, right. $1 billion.
$1 billion. That's what they're taking.
That's what you wouldn't do it. Now this guy.
I'll do it for $1 billion yen. I'll do it for.
I don't even know what that's like. What, $5 US? Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. If they get this wrong next year, I mean, watch out. It's going to be a really big blunder, more so than it already was. It sounds like they have an idea. They're talking more emphatic about it in 2 weeks. We're getting earnings. Tim Cook's going to be asked about it on that call. What's your status of AI? He can give a little nugget and say something. Hey, we got something great. I promise. Just sit tight. That could get people excited. They got the tariff issue off their back. It's going to be interesting to see the enormous pressure in the spring for Apple.
Okay. Steve, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We will see what happens.
Tease will be next.
Up next on Squawk Pod, Between the Aisles on Capitol Hill, House Speaker Mike Johnson and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, a Democrat, join us in the third week of a stalemate in Washington. The two got into a confrontation earlier this week.
Why don't you bring back your Republican members so we can have a serious negotiation with them?
We're going to have plenty of negotiations.
Well, why don't we
Let me tell you why they're not here, because the House is
14 days since July 25th.
Yeah, real people have been real pain.
And they've been on an extended summer vacation.
They're not on
So you bring
vacation.
them back.
And now they're both on Squawk. First, Speaker Johnson.
Let me predict what Senator Kelly's going to say on the show. He's going to give you a long, impassioned speech about health care and how the subsidies are so important to make sure that people don't die and all of this. Let me tell you something. This is not a health care fight.
Then Senator Kelly. 2 interviews, 2 different perspectives.
He's right. I want to talk about the people that this impacts. He didn't mention that.
This is Squawk Pod.
Up and Becky, Q.
You're watching Squawk Box right here on CNBC. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Okay, no end in sight, though, for the government shutdown. Emily Wilkins is in Washington, D.C., where she is, of course, and the 2 parties stand. Where are we right now, given everything that's going on with judges and other things?
Andrew, we are still very much in that stalemate right now. I mean, not only are Democrats remaining firm in their position that they need to have something on health care to give the votes to reopen the government, but now Republican lawmakers, we're actually seeing some of them rebel against some of last week's firing of 4,000 federal workers. Now, the layoffs included every employee at what's known as the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, essentially gutting it. And the CDFI, it helps banks and lenders in low-income rural areas, many of them in these red states, be able to make loans to small businesses or farmers or give mortgages, auto loans. Bill Bynum, he's the CEO of Hope Credit Unions. They have 23 locations in the Deep South. And he said he's worked with things like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and others to ensure that capital is getting into these low-income areas.
That gives banks and private investors and others a safe harbor to easily check the box and put capital into these communities. Without that CDFI certification, it would severely reduce the amount of capital that is flowing into CDFIs, and that they then flow into low income and under-resourced places.
And the backlash has begun. More than a dozen Republican senators who supported the program in the past year, including Senator Mike Crapo, he's circulating a letter among Republican colleagues asking for the laid-off employees to be rehired, according to sources. Now, of course, as you mentioned, federal judge yesterday did invalidate those firings that happened during the shutdown, but that decision is expected to be appealed at this point. The Senate will again come together today to try to vote for the 9th time to end the shutdown this morning. However, at this point, we're not seeing any likelihood that that changes, but definitely keeping an eye on some of the fallout from these firings and from the action from the White House. Guys?
On the 9th one, have from the original, has there been a single shift from the original? They needed 5 more Democrats, right? Is Angus King still? If they all voted the same as they did the first time? No. What is it now? What is the on the last vote?
It's a mirror image, Joe. Yeah, no, we are really not seeing any movement. I mean, we're tracking again those 3 Democrats and Angus King, who's an independent, but is for all intents and purposes at the moment a Democrat, who have been crossing the lines to vote with Republicans. It's still just those 3. You haven't seen those other 5 join them.
No one's peeled off.
Republican still voting against.
So it's carbon
really
copy.
just no movement at all, and that's been the case for the last week.
It's been this, all 9, so identical. Okay. So they haven't peeled off a single. If a single one peels off, that could open the flood. Yeah, the spigot. No, spigot. But that could open the floodgates theoretically. Fetterman still voting like on principle rather than party unity.
I mean, Joe, I think for a lot of these lawmakers, they feel comfortable in the position that they've dug themselves into. I mean, you've looked at a number of the polls that have come out. A number of these polls actually show that among their base, Democrats have support to continue this shutdown and continue to push for these.
That doesn't matter. What they need to be, and we'll ask Mark Kelly today, does he recommend when Republicans are philosophically opposed to something that Democrats in power are doing, does he think that this is a good way, and would he recommend that they close the government down to get what they want? I don't care what polls say. Polls had Kamala Harris up 3 points in Iowa, and she lost by 14. So either you believe the government shutdown is an effective tool to get what you want, or you don't, and you can't have it both ways. And they'll have to, next time it comes up, we'll see whether they sing it
Politicians
different.
can't have it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. They cannot. Thanks, Emily. Joining us, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, thanks for coming on this morning.
Glad to be with you, as always.
It's good to see you. You've done your job. I know you got a lot of opinions and comments and everything else, but this is like really not your problem. I guess it is. It's all our problem. But you sent over a bill to the Senate, and that's where Senate Democrats are not giving it the go-ahead to reopen the government.
It really is as simple as that. I mean, we passed the bill here September 19th. We did the work. We sent it over in bipartisan fashion, by the way. We did have one Democrat who had common sense enough to not shut the government down. We sent the bill over to the Senate, and now they have spiked it 9 times, okay? They've had 9 votes now. 44 Democrats over there voting down the bill, and they're exacting now real pain for real Americans. I mean, the troops are getting paid, thankfully, because President Trump heroically stepped into the fray here, and they found a way to reallocate some funding to make sure that active duty service members got their pay yesterday on schedule. But that's a temporary fix. And all of these other programs and services, I mean, health services for veterans and, nutrition programs for young pregnant women and, all the things that the government does for the American people are suspended right now. Half the civilian workforce is on furlough, and we're in dire straits. And every week of a shutdown, we surrender $15 billion in gross domestic product. I mean, this is real cost for real people. They're playing political games, and it absolutely has to end.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to have Senator Kelly on a little bit later. And I saw him yesterday saying the way that to end this, it can be ended by President Trump, I guess, giving assurances that those subsidies would be extended. I don't know whether that would be enough. I mean, Chuck Schumer, it's a $1.5 trillion wish list of stuff that he's still insisting on. Here's what's worrisome to a lot of people. If something like that were to happen and the president did say, okay, we're going to get a deal, if it's done without any reform of Obamacare, just extending these subsidies, because it's not the Affordable Care Act, it's the unaffordable Care Act, and something needs to be done for reforms. If you just did a clean extension, you might lose some of your people on the House side, and you might need Democrats to get it passed in the House, which would threaten your speakership. So you're between a rock and a hard place at this point.
Well, this is not about me. It's about the American people. Let's make something very clear. Let me predict what Senator Kelly is going to say on the show. He's going to give you a long, impassioned speech about health care and how the subsidies are so important to make sure that people don't die and all of this. Let me tell you something. This is not a health care fight. This is a very simple funding fight. It always was. They have created a red herring. The subsidies don't expire until the end of the year. We were always planning to have the thoughtful debate and deliberation over that in the month of October and November before the subsidies expired. They know that. They grabbed that issue from the end of the year and pulled it back into September to try to pretend like that was the issue. It never was. Now, let me say this about the subsidies. It needs a dramatic amount of reform if indeed they're going to be extended. Because as you know, there was no income caps. You have very wealthy people getting subsidized for health care. It was a COVID-era patchwork situation that the Democrats did on their own. And by the way, they voted to put the expiration date on it at the end of 25. They did that themselves. Why? Because they knew it would have been absurd to try to extend it any further. It has driven the cost of health care up dramatically. There's no hide protections in that program. So the point is, that is a very complicated issue. We have 535 members between the House and Senate. This is a deliberative legislative body. It takes a while to find consensus on an issue that complicated. They know that. So they have grabbed onto that. It is a farce. It is a red herring. It is not the issue of today. Today, the issue is to get the government open again so that we don't hurt our economy, hurt our national security, and hurt the American people who depend upon all these services. It's plain and simple. It's as simple as you outlined at the beginning of this interview. And I hope you'll keep bringing these senators back to that simple point.
Well, there need to be things. The expiration of the subsidies is one thing, but the increase we've seen in how much it costs to maintain Obamacare is significant. And Kimberly Strassel, this is a week or two ago, the government mandates and insurance subsidies have created a toxic stew of industry consolidation, inflated payments, opacity about the payments, constrained choices, and the steady erosion of better employer-sponsored plans. It's not as simple as just extending these. Here's the other thing that I might ask the Senator, Speaker Johnson. Both sides, we know what happens in this country. Republicans have fervent beliefs about something. Democrats have fervent beliefs and deeply held beliefs about health care. So in this case, they're saying it's different this time. This is so important that we are allowed to close down the government because it's so important to us because we want people to have health care. Republicans have issues that are just as important to them, and this opens the possibility of getting the other side through blackmail to do what they want by closing down the government. And it's hypocritical, and anything that sugarcoats it beyond, I don't see how they can look in the camera with a straight face and say anything other than that.
That's exactly right. And they have voted over and over and over on short stopgap funding measures like CRs. In fact, 29 out of 30 times since 2017, Chuck Schumer has voted for CRs. He voted for this exact measure in March of this year, 7 months ago, and gave impassioned speeches about how it was the only thing, the only option, regardless of all of our different preferences and opinions on legislation. Republicans care about health care. We're not just talking about it, we're doing it. In the big, beautiful bill, in the working families tax cut, we reformed Medicaid to make it work better.
But Speaker Johnson, I mean, the president and Republicans have said we're repeal and replace, and it's like we're in a wilderness. Republicans are in the wilderness on what to do to try to fix our health care.
Actually, we're not. We're not. We've got pages and pages and pages of ideas on how to reform healthcare. You can't rip Obamacare out at the roots. It's too deeply ingrained now, and that's the problem. No one's talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare, but we have to increase access to care, quality to care, and bring down the cost. The Democrats have demonstrated over and over the costs go through the roof when they're in charge. This was their healthcare plan, right?
Young people don't need Cadillac plans, Mr. Speaker. They don't need A to Z.
That's right.
They're supporting the entire this behemoth that's called Obamacare.
Yes.
It's unwieldy and it's dying of its own weight.
Speaker Johnson,
you and I can talk about that for 90 minutes. Yeah.
Speaker Johnson, I'm not a fan of playing politics, of shutting down the government like this, but there are situations where you're being accused of playing politics recently, too. There was a special election that was held for Arizona more than 3 weeks ago now. The Democratic Congresswoman-elect won that special election, Grijalva. She's waiting to be seated, and now Arizona's Attorney General is threatening to sue you for taxation without representation if you don't seat her. I realize Congress is not in session, but it's been more than 3 weeks, and all the representatives in the House are being paid right now. Why can't you seat her?
Well, not all the members of the House are being paid. I think all the Republicans.
Well, some of them have chosen not to take a paycheck. They are all under law allowed to receive a paycheck, but they are saying that this is a huge amount of politics. You're using this as leverage by not seating them, and Arizona is saying this is taxation without representation.
Yeah, I'm shocked that there's another Democrat politician from Arizona seeking publicity right now. Now the state AG's involved.
You haven't seated their full delegation.
She's going to sue me, I'm sure. No,
she's not going to sue you. The Attorney General of Arizona is going to sue you for their people not being able to be fully represented.
No, that's who I'm referring to. I know, and she wants publicity too, and it's all a farce. Let me tell you what's happening here. The Rep-elect Grijalva was elected after the House went out of session. So I have said this repeatedly. I'm delighted to administer the oath to her as soon as we get back to legislative session. The people who are preventing us from doing that, ironically, are the two Democrat senators from Arizona. If Gallegos and Kelly would vote to reopen the government, we'll get this thing done quickly. I'm following right now the Pelosi precedent. When my dear friend and colleague from Louisiana, Julia Letlow, in very similar circumstances, was elected to fill in a special election to fill the seat of her late husband who passed, died because of COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to administer the oath. Rep. Grijalva, won an election to take her father's seat in Congress. It's an amazing thing, and we congratulate her her for that. And I'm looking forward to administering the oath. But we have to get back to work. The lights have been turned out here. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government. And the first order of business is to make sure that the American people, federal employees, law enforcement agents, Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic control get their paychecks so we can keep the government functioning. And then we'll get to the ceremonial duty of administering the oath. In the meantime, she can be working for her constituents. She has hired staff. I've noticed they keep doing stunt videos outside of her office, knocking on the door and pretending it's closed. It shouldn't be. She should be in there taking calls from her constituents and doing her job.
Mr. Speaker, we heard Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer, say every day that we're closed, it gets better for us. Obviously, probably a very smart thing to say, but I think he's alluding to polling, and I don't expect polling to help. You've got a lot of media entities that, if Republicans shut down the government, you might have the coverage that we're seeing nationwide might be a little bit different. Okay, so we get that. It's always going to be that way. Always going to be that way. There's no way around it. Do you believe the polls, though? Do you believe that the Democrats have sold that bill of goods, that this is a Republican shutdown? And do you think it's going to hurt? Should Republicans be rightly concerned about the midterms because you're, I don't know, once again pushing grandma off the cliff in her wheelchair?
No, I'm very bullish about the midterms. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to grow the House majority here and keep the Senate, of course, and we'll be able to give President Trump 4 years and not just 2. And part of the reason I'm confident about that is I know we're doing the right thing. This is the simple thing. This is the historic thing, by the way. We passed a totally clean stopgap funding measure, a clean CR. There's no Republican priorities or policy writers or anything on that at all. It's 24 pages in length, and every person in the country can see it for themselves. Now, do we have headwinds from the mainstream and legacy media who, parrot the, Chuck Schumer's talking points every day? Of course. But the American people are not stupid, and they understand what's going on here. And the polling that we're seeing is moving the needle rapidly in our direction because they know our message is simple because the truth is simple. And it's very easy for me to go out and debate anybody or do interviews. I'm constantly out on the airwaves trying to just relay the simple truth, and it sounds repetitive. But that's what it takes to saturate, the message, and people are getting it. And I know, and Chuck Schumer knows that what he's doing is wrong. And you can roll the tape and play his own speeches. In fact, play the floor speech that he gave in March of this year on the identical scenario, where he said it would be morally wrong and outrageous and selfish to close the government down because it would hurt real Americans. Remember, as you said earlier, Joe, their counterproposal CR is a joke. It's not just healthcare. They want to add $1.5 trillion in new spending on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. They want to give healthcare paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens. Yes, that is in the bill, page 57. Look at section 2141. They want to unwind we cut all the fraud, waste, and abuse in the One Big Beautiful Bill. They want to reverse all that. They want to give $500 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting again. I mean, all sorts of things. And they want to pull $50 billion from rural hospitals while they're claiming that they care about Americans' health care. It is a joke. They know it. They need to give it up and open the government.
Yeah, it should be made clear that obviously it's against federal law to cover illegals with Medicaid. But the way you can, for example, the way California does it, they do cover 1.4 million illegals using that loophole that allows them they game the system with those provider taxes to jack them up, to get a bigger reimbursement from the feds, which allows that money to go do all this other stuff, which allows state money to get freed up to cover illegal aliens from cradle to grave. It's not just young or old or anything else. So that's factual. That you're saying if people hear you say that and they don't believe you because Hakeem Jeffries,
they need to go read it themselves.
But they can immediately point to that federal funds can. So they will stick to that. Federal funds are not being used, but federal funds go out there to California. You can use the federal funds for this and then take the money you were going to save from that to pay for the illegal aliens. And that's what's going on. We know. But you've got to look at it closely to figure that out. What's the end game?
Well,
at this point, how are you going to get? How are we going to? Once we get no kings out of the way, Chuck will feel okay about negotiating.
Let's pray that that's true. Just to put a bow on what you just said, we closed those loopholes in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Right.
And Section 2141 of their counter proposal says they want to repeal that. Okay, so how does this end? I do think it has a lot to do with the Hate America rally that'll be on the mall on Saturday. You're going to have all the Antifa and BLM and pro-Hamas. Watch who assembles there. All the Marxists will be on the mall. They can't open the government apparently until that rally is over because they can't face the angry mob. So as soon as that's done.
What's as soon as that's over, you think that there is an impetus or a way to kind of break this by next week?
I think you've got we just need 5 Democrats in the Senate to join and do the right thing with the majority of the Senate that's already there to reopen the government. And then we will have all these debates. And I can't wait to have all these debates with all these folks on all these issues. That's the way the system works. It's the way the process works. We were always going to do that. This is a game. They're trying to play a game because they had to draw a line in the sand to show a fight against President Trump and Republicans so they can protect their own careers. Chuck Schumer's worried he's going to get a challenge from a Marxist in New York. You might have noticed Marxism is all the rage in New York now. We're going to have probably a Marxist mayor, I think. Looks like he's going to win. Chuck Schumer thinks AOC, or one of Mamdami's disciples, is going to run against him and he's going to lose his Senate seat. He's been in Congress for 44 years. He came here when I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade. He doesn't want to go home and do anything else. And so that's what this is about. It is a selfish political game so that they can get cover. And I wish it weren't true, and it gives me no pleasure to tell you that, but everybody can see through this and they know exactly what's going on.
Speaker Johnson, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Joining us right now from the other side of the aisle and the other side of the Capitol, Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly. Good morning to you. We just spoke with the House Speaker. He thinks you need to come to the table. That's basically the message. I imagine you think he needs to come to the table.
We've been asking for a negotiation with Mike and Republicans for weeks now. We've been talking about it for months since they passed the president's priority legislation that gave the big tax cut to the wealthiest Americans. So we're here. I've been here for weeks since the shutdown started. He gave the House of Representatives a lot of time off. They haven't been in session for weeks. That has impacts. He needs to sit down with us and discuss this to come up with a real solution that works for people. Mike Johnson said he could predict what I was going to say. And he's right. I want to talk about the people that this impacts. He didn't mention that. He talked about some, Washington BS that nobody really understands.
So in terms of, look, this has become, a massive game of finger pointing, and there's a game of chicken going on here, basically. Who's going to come to the table first? What can be on offer? This judge, obviously, in San Francisco has said that the Trump administration can't, fire people en masse. Does that make you think that you are now in a better position than you were 24 hours ago?
I don't think this is about who is in a better or worse position. This is about people, many of them my constituents, but they're all over the country. People like a woman I talked to last week, Emily, whose husband's a pastor. She doesn't get health care through his work. She's got 3 kids. She says the Affordable Care Act, including these subsidies, is what makes her finances work. She's had a complicated pregnancy in the past. Without this, they go bankrupt. I talked to another woman who's 63 years old who had a head injury with a $10,000 bill, but because of the ACA, it was $1,000. If her premiums spike, which is what it's expected, she's not going to be able to afford health insurance anymore. And then she's one accident or illness away from bankruptcy. You guys know how this works. On your show, you know how, financial stuff works for families. Mike didn't. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Thanks, Senator. Just on MSNBC this morning, Senator John Thune was on, and he offered a deal for the Democrats. He said that if they reopen the government, there will be a process and a vote on the ACA tax credits. Is that a deal you'd take?
Well, we're looking for a negotiation with Republicans, which is impossible to do this when House members aren't even here. I can talk to Republican senators about this, and we've had some good conversations. They know that this is hurting their constituents. In some states, Alaska as an example, premiums going from $600 to $4,000 a month. That's unaffordable for most people. One of Mike Johnson's Republican colleagues, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been very vocal about this. She says her Republican leadership has no plan for how to deal with people's premiums. They're going to double. And Mike doesn't want to talk about this. All he brings up is some Washington process on this issue.
But you know that we're not going to fix all the things that need to be reformed about Obamacare before the government reopens. And you talk in a very principled way about so many things so often, Senator. And in the past, Democrats and government shutdowns, whenever there's been even a possibility of it, they would stand tall that that's not the way to do things, always. And both sides, I know how much health care means to you, and I'm not questioning what you're saying and your sincerity there. But the next time Republicans have something and feel the opposite side of the aisle, feel just as strongly about something, if they take the tack of closing down the government, not reopening the government, to try to force their opponents to do what they want, it's a terrible precedent. And I think you know that. And I can't believe Fetterman's the only one that acknowledges that a shutdown has been something you have taken off the table again and again and again. And now suddenly the ends justify the means for what you're looking at. And only one person in the Democratic Party has broken with the ranks. It's like, I don't understand it. It hasn't been working well for Democrats with Mamdani.
This is pretty simple. The government does not have to be shut down. It doesn't have to be shut down. We can
Senator,
fix this here in a matter of just a couple days. I mean, this could be easily solved
to
by
go
sitting
past cloture,
down at the
to
table.
To get past 60, you need some Democrats to reopen that's what's going to have to happen, Senator. You close the government down because you want $1.5 trillion for all these different things that Schumer wants. It's obvious to everyone, although maybe you can convince the public that it's the Republicans, but it's not.
Joe, we are trying to prevent 2 million people from losing their health care coverage. And Joe, I think you know this. When people lose their health care coverage, some of those people die. Other people go bankrupt. We're trying to prevent this from happening. I've seen estimates that you're talking about tens of thousands of people a year that could have that kind of outcome if this isn't fixed. And we very simply can get this fixed and open the government. And here's the thing, the president has talked about how he wants this fixed. He wants these subsidies to be dealt with. So he agrees we should open the government and we should fix the subsidy issue under the Affordable Care Act, and that's all we want. So I don't see what the problem is.
Right.
And
so
if the president says he'll get engaged on this.
I saw you say that yesterday, sir, on I think Fox, that you said if the president comes out and says, I will make that happen, you would trust him and go along with that. Is that how this ends? Is that how we reopen?
Well, I think we need the president to make that happen. He needs to engage with Mike Johnson and John Thune. They seem to follow his lead on everything. That's the way this ends.
All right.
That's the way this ends. Senator Kelly, we got to end it there. We will talk to you soon, we hope.
Coming up on Squawk Pod, or should we say Sock Pod, Bombas, the popular sock brand's CEO, Jason LaRose, joins us on the strength of the consumer, the impact of tariffs, and the business's expansion to brick and mortar and other things.
We started as a sock company. We've become a company that also makes intimates, makes t-shirts, makes slippers, and some other footwear. And so as our categories have gotten broader and broader, it's a chance for us to tell our whole story.
Welcome back to Squawk Pod with Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Okay, we're talking socks, folks. Bombas, the sock and apparel company, about to open its first standing store in New York City, followed by 2 more in Florida and Texas, happening amid some new questions, of course, about the strength of the American consumer. We got to deal with tariffs and everything else. Jason LaRose is here. He's the CEO of Bombas, and he joins us live this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And I see you brought slippers and all sorts of socks. So what is going on here? Why are you going brick and mortar here?
Well, I mean, we're still in a category where 65% of sales happen in physical retail. We've had some wholesale relationships that have been very good to us for a certain period of time, but you see a little bit of the breadth here. We started as a sock company. We've become a company that also makes intimates, makes t-shirts, makes slippers, and some other footwear. And so as our categories have gotten broader and broader, it's a chance for us to tell our whole story, and excited for our first store to open.
Okay, let me add something to your story, which I imagine was probably not on your bingo card a year ago, which is tariffs.
Yeah.
And how is that affecting you? What are you doing?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, we're very flexible, and that's a lucky thing for us. We've got a very flexible supply chain. I'm not sure I know all the tariff rules yet. They feel like we get new news every week or every month.
But where are these, the stuff that's on the table here? We got some low, what would you call that?
We would call that an ankle sock.
Yeah, ankle sock. We're talking, the kids don't like ankle socks, by the way, right?
Well, my kids don't like ankle socks. Yeah, that's fair. My kids like a higher sock, so they'll make some of those silhouettes.
We're not talking like knee highs again, or
no, we're talking. I think my kids would prefer a half calf
sock.
Yeah.
But there's a new fashion to socks. I thought there was a whole period of time where people only wanted to do the no-show sock. You remember that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's now out.
Well, no-shows are still a big part of what people wear with loafers and things like that, but I would say there's definitely a little bit of an age discussion there about what your sock height says about how old you are.
I don't know what you're talking. So you would wear something where you can feel the air on your frickin' legs. I mean, like a sock that's only that high. Why would you ever?
In the old days, I'd call it a tennis sock.
I would never wear one with long pants. I mean, with golf shoes.
No.
Oh, with shorts.
If you're wearing shorts.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I've seen you do it with long pants.
I always thought it looked better with the no-show sock. I thought with you were like wearing the tennis shoes.
I agree with that.
I am told the young kids
jeans,
will tell you that if you want your calf to look better, they like to have a higher. It was explained to me that you want to have a higher sock because it makes your legs look better.
Or you could just not skip a leg.
You mean like more muscular calf?
I guess it does. I mean, I don't have the most muscular calf.
I mean, I'm working on them every day.
You do those like you gotta keep going up on your toes to work your.
Well, I'm training for a marathon right now, so I spend more time in a run socks than anything else.
Let's go back to the business. Let's go back to the business of all this. So this stuff is made where?
Well, we have a diversified supply chain. We make product in about 9 different countries around the world in multiple
But the stuff
regions.
here generally?
I mean, our biggest countries are Vietnam and Cambodia. Okay. We make product in Turkey, Mexico, some in Thailand.
And how much of it have you moved around in the last 6 months?
I don't know if I have a percentage on how much we've moved around, but we're always optimizing the supply chain as the rules change.
But I mean, do you think 20% of your supply chain has moved?
I would guess a little more.
A little more?
Yeah.
And do you expect it to change again?
Well, if the rules change, then we continue to change, but we have, very flexible supply chain.
Is there anything you could do, or any in your imagination, where you would manufacture this stuff in America?
I mean, we would have to have the capabilities, I think, as a starting point. There really aren't great places for us to make this product in the U.S., to make yarn here in the U.S. So we continue to go where we can make really high quality product, but we have a very diversified supply chain, and we'll keep moving it around.
And in terms of the strength of the consumer, which we keep asking questions about, you are seeing what?
I mean, from our business, we certainly hear the noise from a macro perspective. I watch the show, we see the conversations, but from our perspective, our business has been up more than 20% year over year. We see our basket size 10% higher year over year, and every one of our businesses is up double digits. So the consumer keeps voting for us, and we're excited about that.
Is that a function, just do you think, of either innovation in the product, increasing the product line? You now have more SKUs than you've ever had.
We do have more SKUs, but I think what's really happening is customers, when money is a little bit tight, they run to people they trust. And I think we've become a brand that people really do trust, and they know what they're going to get with us when it comes to quality and comfort, our commitment to our mission. Right. So we're one of those brands that even when the macro might be, a little bit sketchy, we continue to do well.
Okay, so I got a gross question for you.
Okay.
You ready? Moisture wicking. Moisture wicking on the sock. To me, that is the ultimate sort of technology. What are you doing there?
I mean, our sports socks are all moisture wicking for sure. Moisture wicking is really just a combination.
Do you know how much? Like the average foot? You can take a vial about this tall. Because I did a story at DuPont. The average foot releases about that much sweat every day. Thin vial that tall.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Well, I mean, let's try it out. Let's put you in some of our best socks, and let's see what you think. Our merino wool socks are unbelievable for wicking sweat, so we're going to get you in some of the right stuff.
So it evaporates or something? Is that what you're?
It pulls it away from the skin, and then it's easier for it to evaporate from the outside.
I mean, a little TMI. I find in the winter, specifically, in the winter, I find sometimes my feet feel a little cold because I think that there's moisture, and then it's cold outside, and then my feet are cold.
You ask
Because they're
these
all
questions
sweaty.
about like your jockeys, your boxers. I mean,
No, I'm here with a I'm
is
here
that
with a sock
is wicking
expert.
important there
I'm here
too?
with a sock expert.
How much are
I
you
need
going
to ask
How
about
much are you going to? How much are you going to tell us about your thing?
My socks?
Everything.
We can talk about feet. Do you remember when? Who
Becky,
was
we're
it?
going to talk about feet. Text that guy.
No. Remember when that? What was his name? Ben.
Tweet to him.
Who massaged my feet on the set? Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Remember that back in the old
Yes.
the old
And that guy would
studio?
do anything.
And you let him.
Ben Kaufman, great entrepreneur. Ben
Willingly
Kaufman.
let him. And you seem to enjoy it.
I'm always up for a foot massage. Jason, want to thank you.
Are you asking Jason?
I'm not.
We're going to break, Jason. You got anything to do now?
This is what we're now doing. These we have a streaming show during the commercial breaks. Sure. So if you want to do a foot massage, we can. I think we'd get a lot of clicks.
Very quickly.
Yeah, I think I'll probably pass on the foot massage, but I'll invite you to come see the store that we're opening in New York. If you happen to be in Florida or Texas, we'd love to show you.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
That's the podcast for today. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Weekday mornings on CNBC, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern, going all 3 hours until 9. To get the smartest takes, and some of the silliest takes from that TV show right into your ears, follow us here on Squawk Pod, wherever you're listening now. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow. Have a great day.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.